So now I'll request Shabahat Ali Syed, a beautiful soul, a very good friend, and Sufi by practice and passion, a mystic. He is very much into Persian literature, and he will recite some Persian Sufi poetry and its translation for us. Shabahat Ali Syed. And if you want, Raj's cell phone.
I have my own.
You missed it.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And such an honor and pleasure to be here and to be speaking to this very august gathering. I am Sayyid Shabahat Ali. I belong to Peshawar. I belong to a Sufi family. 400 years ago, an Iranian king, Nadir Shah, he raided the subcontinent. He conquered Peshawar. And his beautiful wife, Pari Chehra, she died of a disease in Peshawar. So out of his warlords that he had with him, he left a brigade of his officers in the city of Peshawar who would look after the grave of Pari Chehra. And today, after 400 years of that incident, thank you, we still have native Persian speaking Pakistani community living in Peshawar. So my mother belonged to that community, or the Persian speaking family. My grandparents migrated from my father's side, they migrated from India. And they speak a very highly sophisticated version of Urdu. So Urdu and Persian came together in my upbringing. So Persian was always very natural to me. And since my childhood, I was fond of reading. I would read anything. If I'll find a piece of paper on the floor or on the carpet, I'll pick it up, I'll try to read it out. So when I initially got attracted towards Sufism, I heard a name, Rumi. And all I could find about Rumi was just one incident. Every speaker talks about that one incident. When he was sitting and he was teaching, and comes in a man with a very humble appearance, and he picks up the books of Rumi and say, "What is this?" And Rumi says, "Ye tu nahi dani." You don't know what it is. He throws these books into the pond of water. These are handwritten scripts. The black ink spatters in the water. And Rumi cries and said, "What you did?" He picked out the books out of water, and they were all dry. And Rumi, he was a great scholar of his times. He said, "What is this?" And the guy said, "Itu namidani." This is what you cannot do. So this one incident is all what gets reported. Many scholars only talk about Rumi with this very particular event. So since Persian comes very natural to me, in a very young age I tried to read Rumi. I made an effort. Library was always very accessible, and I got some scripts that were translated in English. To the height of my surprise, because I understand, as I said earlier, Persian as perhaps as my first language, most of the translations are not very accurate. So today I have picked up few lines from Rumi's Masnavi, and I'll share the same with you guys. But slightly before I talk about Rumi and his poetry, it is important to understand that in which times Rumi come and enlightens the soul. Rumi initially belonged to Tajikistan. He was born in Tajikistan. And these were the times when the Mongols were conquering the entire west and east. So his hometown was conquered. He migrated from there to Konya, Turkey, and he lived a major part of his life. That's why he was given the name Rumi, because Turkey was then a part of the Roman Empire. Historically, has remained a part of Roman Empire. So he was Rumi because of it. His real name was Jalaluddin, and he lived his name. He actually qualified to become Jalaluddin, the grace of the religion. He became the icon and grace of the religion with his very strong message of knowledge, patience, and peace. And the artwork of Rumi is primarily divided into two phases. There are two things that he's famous about. One is Masnavi Maulai Rum. Now Masnavi, as you know, Urdu and Persian, it is far more richer in culture than many other foreign languages. So there are many ways you can write a poem in Urdu or in Persian. So Masnavi is a kind of poem where your subject is completed in every 2 lines. 2 lines. Message completed. It would be 12, 16 words at most. Message delivered, it is up to you, how do you interpret it now. So that is the reason that there has been a tremendous amount of work done just to comprehend Rumi, because he would mostly conclude all of his messages in 2 lines, and that is Masnavi. And for my foreigner friends who do not understand Persian or Urdu, the entire work of Rumi, these are 25,000 verses, and every verse has 2 lines. So these are 50,000 lines written are in one bahr. You know what is bahr? It is in one tune. You can sing it in one way. All of his work that he has written in perhaps 20 years, he had not to use more or less words. It has always been in these 2 articulate lines. So when you have a doubt whether what you are listening belongs to Rumi or not, you try to sing it in the same pattern, in the same note, and if it fits in, it is Rumi's, and if it does not, it is not his. यानी जो मौलाए रोम की बहर है वो उन्होंने सारी जिंदगी में नहीं बदली. So that is what Masnavi is. And in Masnavi, what he has done, that before Maulai Rumi, there was very less theoretical work available on Sufism, on how to purify your heart and soul, and how to connect to Almighty, how to just make yourself a better human. Theoretical work was not there. It was just heard and said. I taught him, he taught you, you taught somebody else. Rumi documented it in his own way, and when I'll read, perhaps, then you can better understand. And the other thing that Rumi is famous about are his hikayat. Now, hikayat are his stories. Stories that have actually not happened. He has imagined the stories and left beautiful messages for us. But again, the outcome of his messages is to teach you how to purify your heart and soul, and how to connect with the creator of this universe by polishing your heart. That is what Rumi is about. So I have picked up 2 small stories from his hikayat. The first story, or the first hikayat of Rumi, is that Rumi writes about a person who fell in love with Allah and he left everything for Allah. He would just pray with His prayer mat in a corner, would not go for anything, would not go to earn. He just left everything to focus on Allah. And he lost everything that he had, to an extent that he had nothing to eat. He was starving to death. And one day, while he was walking with a cane in his hand, he saw some soldiers. They were beautifully dressed. They were sitting on fine horses. They had precious amulets. And they were very well dressed. And the poor man asks, who is the owners of these slaves? And someone said, they belong to the king. That's why they look so beautiful. The poor man thought that I belong to Allah. I am slave of Almighty. He left me alone to starve to death. These guys belong to a king, a worldly king. And they are so well dressed. They are living such a lavish existence. So he prayed to God and said, God, learn from this king how to look after your slaves. He sleeps, he wakes up. An old man comes, hold his hand and say, get up, I need to show you something. Take him to the same soldiers. Somebody's hand is missing. Someone's head is chopped. They're all ripped. They're all wounded. They were returning from a battle, a pitch battle. And he said, what happened to them? They were fine horsemen. And the person says, they were fighting a battle for their king. He said, why are you bringing me here and showing me all of this? The old man says, I don't know anything about you. God told me in my dream to show this sight of people to you and to let you know that this is how a slave goes through the pain for his Lord. You have yet not gone against any pains. You have not faced anything. Now remember, when Rumi is giving these strong narrations, these are the times when the Mongols are burning cities after cities, killing millions of people. So these are very hard times in the human history. Many of the scholars in the West still believed these were the toughest times in the human race history. So he is giving a message of patience. There's one other beautiful story by Mullah Rom. He says, in the great Roman Empire, there were some Roman craftsmen versus some Chinese craftsmen. They were both engineers. They were both designers who used to design buildings. They had an argument. Chinese said, our architecture technology is better. Romans said, no, ours is better. They went to the king. King said, okay, you build a room and you build a room. I'll see which room is more beautifully built. So the Chinese made beautiful walls and painted them with flowers. The Romans built a plain room but made their walls of mirrors and shined them to perfection. There was a curtain in the middle of the two rooms. When the king came, the curtain was lifted. The entire elegance of the Chinese craft was seen in the work of the Romans, because they just built a mirror. And there Rumi says, shine your heart like the mirror of the Romans. And if you want to attract God, trust me, He's so beautiful that if He finds His own shades in the mirror of your heart, He'll fall in love with you. These are the strong messages that Rumi had. And for reasons he has dominated the academic circles and all the peaceful debates of religion over all these centuries. Now very quickly, I would not take more time. I'll go through some of the kalam that I have picked. It was very hard. Pir Sahib put me in a very tough position. He said, you have to read Rumi. So what I could pick, these are a few lines. I'll read the text in Persian. So, from the work of Mullah Rom, what I'm going to read is from the Masnavi, falls in the same category. And I don't know if I'll be able to do justice with its translation, because honestly the translation that I saw, I didn't agree to it. So I tried to translate it in my own broken, fractured English. Ilm ra bar tanzani mare buad, ilm ra bar dil zani yare buad. Fling in the body, and the knowledge becomes a serpent. Fling it in your heart, and it becomes your friend. इल्म को अगर आपने अपने जाहिर पे सवार कर लिया, तकब्बुर इल्म में आ गए, तो ये सांप बन के आपको डस लेगा. और अगर इल्म से अपने कल्ब को रोशन किया, तो ये आपका यार बन के आपको दो जहां में रहनुमाई करेगा. दस्ते हर ना अहल बीमारत कुनत, सुए मां दरा के तीमारत कुनत. That's a very tall claim. He says, the guiding hand of an incapable will sicken you. Come to me so that I can heal you. और मौलाना रूम का जो ये इरशाद है, ये आज के दिन भी ऐसा ही जिंदा जावेद है. यानी डॉक्टर अल्लामा मोहम्मद इकबाल मौलाना रूम को अपना पीर इसीलिए कहते हैं. Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal has written only 9 books in his lifetime. And there are 12,000 books written to interpret Iqbal. But Iqbal says, Rumi is my peer. This is because of this very verse that I have selected. That Rumi says, even today, if you are looking for guidance, don't go elsewhere. Come to me. I'll fix it for you. Zahire nakra garispi dastono, dasto jama ham sayah karda azu. The worldly translation is, the glitter of silver is white and new, but it also blackens your hands and clothes. Maulana Rumi has a focus on earning rizq-e-halal. He believes that a true Muslim devoted to his cause earns for the sake of living an existence that allows him to be an obedient servant of his God and not beyond this point. So he says, your greed for more money nevertheless enlightens your heart, makes you happy, not enlightens you, makes you happy, but it can make your hands and your clothes dirty. And I need more attention on the line that I'm about to read. Admi di dast, baki post ast. Admi di dast, baki post ast. Deed aa bashad ke deede dost ast. A man is nothing but just the sight. And there is no sight but the sight of your loved one. And remember, since Rumi is a saint, when he said loved one or friend, this belongs to Almighty Allah. So if you do not have the sight to look at your God, to be connected to your Creator, you are nothing but gosht, but muscles and bones. Bandaye yak mard roshan dil shavi. Bandaye yak mard roshan dil shavi, bar ke har farq zar shaha ravi. Be slave of a man with enlightened heart, instead of being slave to the Lord of the land. किसी मर्द मोमिन के बंदे बन जाओ, किसी साहिब दिल के गुलाम बन जाओ, तो फलाह पा जाओगे. बादशाहों की चाकरी तुम्हें जलालत के सिवा कुछ नहीं देगी. बंदा बाशो बर जमी रो चौं समंद, चौं जनाजा ने के बर गर्दन बुरंद. Now he is trying to tell you how the character of a saint should be. Because remember, Maulai Rum is addressing to the people who believe that they are trying to be on the path of Sufism. He is mastering the masters at large and then asking them to master the public. जिसको आज के concept में हम कहते हैं trainer of the trainers. So he says in this very verse, be obedient, gallop the earth like an stallion, not like a dad that is born on shoulders of a life. Ilm o hikmat zayed nane halal. Ishq riqqat ayad az nane halal. Knowledge and wisdom take birth with honestly earned meals. I couldn't understand how to translate nane halal. I translated it honestly earned meal. Love and ecstasy are born of an honestly earned meal. So this is the great Rumi that we talk about, that we praise even to date. And he's the person that about whom Allama Iqbal once wrote that his grave is sajda gahe ashikan. Go and bow your head down to the grave of him who teaches the lovers how to fall in love with Allah. I'm very thankful, Peer Saab, for being given the opportunity, and thank you very much, my dear audience, for your patience. Bye.